7:06. First agenda item is seating of alternates. Kate Bill is absent this evening, so we're going to seat Stacy for Kate. Before we move to the minutes, is there a motion to amend the agenda?
Yes, I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move item ZC 26-20 to the first item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Jackie, second by Shannon. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. So we will move back to the first agenda item. Next is approval of minutes from the July 6, 2026 regular meeting. Any comments? I get a motion to approve. Jackie,
I would abstain, I wasn't here.
we have a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
So second.
Aye.
Okay. So I have a motion by Tucker, second by Stacy. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Just me.
Okay, so that passes 5-0 with one abstention. Thank you. So we move on to item ZC 26-20, an application of Craig Foreman, owner, Darren Senna, agent, for the installation of a 32 square foot monument sign at 50 Hot Meadow Street. Yours, Brittany?
I'll take it. Mr. Chairman, ZC 26-20 is a site plan application for a proposed freestanding sign to be located at 70 Hot Meadow Street. It is a 32 square foot freestanding sign that did receive variance to allow the freestanding sign to essentially be off premise, and I'll show you that in a second. So the property is zoned PAD. This is the property that is in front of the storage facility on Hot Meadow Street. So I grabbed this plat. It just kind of shows, this was originally approved as a planned development, and it was in fact actually all one property in the beginning. The applicants come back and subdivided the property for industry reasons, for business reasons, but just so you get a sense, you got Curaleaf, you got the self-storage facility in the rear, and then you kind of have a future undeveloped parcel which is up front. And so the applicant is proposing to put what will be a kind of a joint project sign in the front, as you can look at where that star is. So that sign will be off premise, but it will serve those two users, the storage user as well as the future, whatever the future front user is. That's the location shown on site plan, and this is the draft sign design that, as you can see, shows the storage facility as well as a panel for a future tenant. Design review board recommended. Brittany's going to tell you. I wasn't there.
So yes, DRB recommended approval. They did suggest that the red border and the red use of 70 be black, and they also requested engineered stone or real brownstone instead of what was proposed.
And I think the applicant is here. Perhaps not. He was the DRB.
Did he agree to the revisions? Okay. So we'll read the motion, please.
Shane, you read
There
from
it
the screen.
goes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Move that the zoning commission approves ZC 26-20, an application of Craig Foreman, owner, Darren Senna, agent, for the installation of a 32 square foot monument sign at 50 Hot Meadow Street, Assessor's Map Block Lot E18 117001-2, Zone PAD. Approval is subject to the following conditions. The project shall be developed in substantial conformance with the plan stamped received by the Planning Department 7/13/26, prepared by Hartford Sign and Design. Prior to building permit issuance, the applicant shall submit a landscaping plan to the satisfaction of the planning department.
Thank you, sir. Second.
Second.
Would you add those conditions as placed by the design review board?
Can I just say that?
Yeah, yes, you
Okay. With the addition of the conditions provided by the design review board.
Second.
Motion by Shin, second by Tucker. Any discussion? In favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes 6-0. Thank you. Okay, we now move on to the public hearing. ZC 26-18, can you read the notice?
ZC 26-18, an application of Dorset Crossing LLC, owner Dwight Merriam, agent pursuant to section 8 of the zoning regulations for a zone change and amendment to the master development plan to allow a car wash facility at 10 Dorset Crossing, assessor's map block lot I-04403 13C-F, planned area development pad zone.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. So just to lay out the rules for the public hearing, we're gonna open with the applicant. Applicant will have 30 minutes to make his presentation, and we'll move on to public comment. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please, when you come up to comment, please state your name and address, direct your comments to the commissioners, and please stay on topic.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of background slides just to kind of show locations for the applicant's fees. So as you said, this is a public hearing for Dorset Crossing zone change and master plan. So the applicant's proposing a 7,275 square foot car wash facility as a permitted use in the Dorset Crossing plan zone. So that's essentially what the master plan amendment is, which is to add the car wash as a use. There's also a corresponding site plan application, which is ZC 26-19. So that's what it's an amendment to the pad for what is called Lot F at the Dorset Crossing master plan. Just to take a little bit of back steps here. So Dorset Crossing is a planned area development. It is a mixed-use planned area development established in 2013. So it currently is entitled with 27,000 square foot of retail / commercial and 360 residential units. Some of the properties have been built out on site and some not. You get a sense of the build out and what remains based on that matrix. To the left, you have the existing approved master plan, and to the right, the applicant will take you through in greater detail in a second. Yes, there are many questions about whether this application is located in an aquifer protection area. It is. We have, as you can see, 4 separate aquifer protection areas in the town of Simsbury, and you can kind of see where this application falls. The aquifer protection regulations kind of set out regulations for what are called regulated activities, and these are activities that may harm an aquifer, and so the design that comes from the state and mapped by water companies is to protect the aquifer. The state lists 28 specific regulated activities. A car wash is not a regulated activity, and it's permitted in the town of Simsbury by special exception outside of the planned area development and part of the planned area development with a public hearing. It is not regulated when all wastewaters from such activity are lawfully disposed of through a connection to a publicly owned treatment work. So in this case, we consider it a regular use. The applicant has submitted and the town engineer has confirmed that the application meets this standard. There's some additional updates. There were several requests for information identified in the staff report from last week. The applicant has submitted the required wastewater report that's been provided to you in your Dropbox and made part of the file. So there's no outstanding issues associated with the wastewater report. The applicant has also submitted a fire circulation plan, which the town engineer tells me is satisfactory. We have sent it along to the fire marshal for final review, and I'll let the applicant speak to any of those conversations. Town staff has also requested a service letter from the water company, which would be Aquarian, in terms of how much water is, a great discussion about how much water is used for this type of use. So we asked the applicant to provide a service letter. They haven't done that yet, and it takes a little bit of time, I understand. In terms of land use referrals, this is as a zone change, it is referred to your planning commission for review. Planning commission was split, my characterization on this application after a great deal of discussion. There was a motion for a negative referral, and then members talked about kind of what both sides were. Members supported, members who were supporting cited economic development, as well as new business opportunities, and as consistent with the POCD. Members against cited environmental impacts on the aquifer, water uses, and traffic. And you did receive kind of additional and supplemental emails from several commissions on their reasons. Design review, I'll let the applicant speak to design review board or Brittany, to give them a.
So generally, the design review board had a positive referral. They did have some suggestions on the canopies that are located in the drive-through.
And then finally, there had been some discussion about whether the commission is kind of permitted to refer the application to Conservation Commission for an advisory recommendation. You certainly have the right and the ability to do that if you so desire. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Just bear with me 1 second. Forward.
That's forward. Yeah, okay.
Right side forward.
Good evening. My name's Dwight Merriam. I'm a lawyer representing the applicant and the contract purchaser and ultimate developer of the proposed car wash. I live and work at 80 Latimer Lane in Weetog. My apologies to the audience for having my back to them, but that's the mechanics of these hearing rooms. I usually try to engineer something where I can view in both directions at once, but not possible. So my apologies. I'd say about 2/3 of the size of crowd was here on Tuesday, a week ago, with the Planning Commission, expressing the issues that the town planners touched on, concern about if we take water out of the aquifer, is there going to be anything left for them? And will this car wash damage the aquifer by being on top of it? We understand that. In fact, that night on Tuesday, I said to the people in attendance, my name's Dwight Merriam. There's only one person with my name that I know of. And here's my telephone number, gave him my telephone number, and said, call me anytime. I'll be happy to answer any question you have, give you any information you need to resolve your concerns. Nobody called me. The Planning Commission, as the town planner has characterized, was a split vote, 2-2. And then on the unanimous vote of the commission, they directed the planner to issue a report describing how they split. Only 2 commissioners submitted supplemental reports to the report that you have it in your record there somewhere. And those are the 2 commissioners who supported it on the grounds that the POCD was telling us that this was a matter of economic development. It was consistent overall with the POCD. The 2 commissioners who were opposed to it had an opportunity to review the report as I understand it, but didn't submit anything supplemental. So the report does reflect the totality of all 4 members of the commission. The Design Review Board, you've just heard a report from them. They like it. It's a terrific design. You've seen it before, but now we're in a public hearing. I have to touch those bases within the 27 minutes and 14 seconds left to me. And but it's a terrific design. And as I said, the Goldbergs of the family, they've got a car wash in Colchester, and they decided it was time, now that the two sons have grown up and stepped into the business, to do another site. This is not a conglomerate or a big franchise operation. Clients back here, Rodney Goldberg and his two sons, Laron and Joe. And I said to Rodney at the beginning, I've had the privilege of representing him in other matters for several years. If you're gonna do a car wash in Simsbury, it better be the best car wash you can possibly design. And we think the architecture is wonderful, and the design review board likes it completely. The only concern they had is when we had to remove the canopy so that the fire trucks would go through at 50 miles an hour or whatever they like to do. You know the drill, right? And so we had to remove the canopy as it was, and the substitute design needs to be addressed. But that's it. We did tell them at the outset that we had a delay from an outside consultant on the signage. So you have a combined presentation tonight for the master plan amendment, which is very typical, along with the site plan approval. You can decide one or both. Start with the master plan amendment, as the town planner said, and then later decide the site plan. The site plan has to go over. You can't decide that tonight. We're not asking you to decide it, because we've got to come back with a detailed sign plan, make an application for that specific issue, but all the other issues can be addressed, and hopefully we'll be able to satisfy you on the master plan amendment. So here are our presenters tonight. You've seen them before, and I know you've got in your computers their backgrounds, but here's a hard copy of each of them. I'll pass these around. This is a great team of people that's worked very well together for a very long time. First, we had to find the right site. We looked in several different towns for the last 3 years until we found this site, which is ideal in several respects. But Brandon is our engineer. He's going to speak to the site plan. Rocco Petito is here, again, talking about the architecture. Biff Scheckinger, landscape architect. And Scott Hesketh, our traffic engineer. And then Rodney, Laron, and Joe are here to answer any questions that you have. You'll see that one of the takeaways, we were happy to have the feedback from planning, from design review, and from this commission on several aspects of the development. And one of them, you'll hear from Biff again on the 100% local plants native to the area. This is the process, you know what it is. We chose to have the master plan and the site plan together. Sometimes in your PADs, you do the master plan, then they come back for the site plan. When we looked at it, we figured that most of what we have to do with the master plan involves site plan elements as well. So why not package it and do it at once? We got sidetracked by this outside sign consultant, so we're going to be back here on September 9th, but hopefully only on the sign issue. Here it is again, the location, Dorset Crossing Drive. There's the corner. Now that sign that you see there is a monument sign that's actually not on the property before you tonight. It wraps around, as you may recall, and we're going to come back later. It'll be several months, 6 months or so, to come up with a new monument sign that will identify all the uses in that PAD. Okay, we need to do that, but it's not our job alone. So we got to work with everybody else. It's an area designated for and zoned for commercial development. And here's a summary of the background, but one of the points for you is that in order to do a car wash in a PAD, it has to be a permitted use. And it is a permitted use, as you see here, in two other districts, the B2 and B3. The development's described there, but you've had a much better explanation at the outset than I have. But here are 8 key points, and I'm not going to read them all. But the thing that's stunning to me about this application, you have an approval on this site. You approved it. It's a master plan amendment. All that the property owner has to do is come in with a site plan application. And you know your discretion is very limited with site plans, right? So if they comply with the regulations, you're going to have to approve what you already approved. This application does 8 good things. It eliminates a poorly considered access on Dorset Crossing Drive. It reduces the impervious surface. It greatly reduces the number of parking spaces. You'll hear more about that. You've heard it before. Landscaping is 100% native vegetation. Your yards are increased, look at these numbers. They're 9 feet, and now the side yard setbacks are 50 and 60 feet. The building coverage is down 40% over the site the project you already approved for this site, with all of the parking. And finally, in our traffic study, we included developments that aren't even built yet, just to make sure that the traffic impacts would be fully accounted for. So with that, let me turn to Brandon Hanfield to give you a review of the site plan. Brandon, here's the right button.
Figure it out.
Right button. You're an engineer, you can figure it.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Brandon Hanfield. I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of
Brandon, move that up, please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that better? I'll try. All right. I'll talk into the
Much
mic.
better. Thank you.
All right. Again, Brandon Hanfield, professional engineer licensed in the state of Connecticut with the Antic River Consultants with an office located in Lebanon, Connecticut. And I will spend a few minutes going through the site plan. Dwight said there was a timer, but I don't see it. But I will be quick and here to answer any questions. So this is the title sheet, just for orientation purposes on my plan. North is up. Our 1.08 acre parcel is outlined in orange. Just to the north of the parcel, you have Lot A, which is the existing medical office, retail, and mixed-use building that was constructed as part of the original approved development. And off to the left or west is Lot H, which was recently approved for multifamily. And then in 2023, Lot F, which is here, was approved for the mixed-use retail. And in orange, you'll see the car wash building and the parking around it. This is our site development layout plan. And again, we prepared these plans similar to a site plan, mainly to answer a lot of the questions that you'll hear tonight in terms of stormwater, aquifer, and utility design. So in the center of the sheet, so these property lines are not, but our Lot F is here. Our building's centrally located at 7,275 square feet. Within that building, it is a car wash. There's an automatic tunnel right in the center that's 125 feet long, a touchless tunnel further north, 2 self-serve bays on the north end of the building. And then on the bottom are the detail bays, an equipment room, and a small office. And Rocco will go through the architecture momentarily. Access to the site is entirely onto the existing driveway here on the west side of our site. That is a 36-foot wide single ingress and egress lane driveway. So it is actually a reduction from the original proposal that was brought in front of the zoning commission from 2 egress lanes. So we narrowed up that egress driveway while still maintaining proper movements in and out of the site. Circulation through the site is counterclockwise. So you will come onto the site and take a right. The first service that you will see is the double stacking queue lanes for the automatic tunnel. So we have queuing here. The pay station is located under a 750 square foot canopy. After that, those automatic gates, which alternate back and forth automatically. So you never have 2 cars leaving those pay stations at the same time. There's a single merge lane that can hold another 5 cars, and then they enter the automatic tunnel. For those that do not go to the automatic tunnel, they take the bypass lane around and they go into the touchless or the self-serve bays in a single direction. And everybody egresses to the west and then leaves the site. Other improvements on the site, there are 16 parking spaces, of which 11 are vacuum, 1 is ADA, and 4 are standard spaces. And the vacuum spaces can serve as both patron space as well as employee space or the temporary use of vacuums. Getting right into grading and drainage, so we have time here. So again, we prepared these plans to try to answer a lot of the questions that we did here. So in terms of grading and drainage, I'll start with what exists. So our property line again is here, Hot Meadow Street's to your right. And all of this drainage here and all of these structures along the southerly property line exist. They were constructed as part of the original approval when I believe was going to be a Walgreens. So there was a 14,000 square foot Walgreens on this property. Right smack in the middle here. It's a very large building. Around that they had parking and access. They put this underground drainage structure in it collects not only a part of our site, but also a part of Dorset Crossing. So this area of Dorset Crossing here all drains onto this site and into that underground containment system. It passes through a contact treatment structure first, and then goes into the underground concrete chambers. Those chambers are lined with a Durascrim liner, which is an impermeable liner. So the system acts as an underground pond without infiltrative capabilities. As the stormwater increases in depth, it stage flows out to a new system that was put into Hop Meadow. So in summary, everything on the east side of our site drains through this underground system, which does not infiltrate, and heads south about 700, 800 feet down Hop Meadow and discharges off the road there. The balance of the site discharges to one catch basin right there. And that catch basin is part of the larger watershed that was approved as part of the PAD that heads west to a water quality basin. So the former building heads west. What we did in this plan is we kept all of the existing structures and the way that it was drained. So we tried to maintain impervious surfaces that drain east and west. We minimized those impervious surfaces as much as we could. We back checked the treatment capacity of the infrastructure that was originally installed through construction submittals. We found that existing treatment structure is suitable to treat the more recent 2023 stormwater quality manual from the DEEP. So the unit that was installed had a higher capacity than the original design. The new design is still within the capacity of that installed element, and we confirmed that with Contact itself. So we contacted their engineers and they sent us documentation. So everything on the east side of the site still drains to the same spot, and the treatment structure meets modern standards. The building itself will go into an infiltration system, so only the roof water that falls in the gutters and the small rain gardens that are outside of the vegetated areas. They will go into a new underground system that does infiltrate, so roof water is considered clean and acceptable to infiltrate within your aquifer protection areas. It not only infiltrates the stormwater quality volume and flow, it also retains up to the 100-year storm. So the entire building goes into these underground chambers, nothing comes out up to the 100-year storm, or very little, less than 0.2 of a CFS. So what we're left with is the pavement on the west side of the building where the cars egress, the car wash. Again, there was one catch basin here, there was nothing up here. So we added in this catch basin up top, and we added this catch basin on the inbound lane. This catch basin connects down through, and we made this into a treatment structure itself. So that structure, because it's on the outbound lane of our car wash, and this is a high point right there. So as you drive out of all these areas, it drains to this catch basin. That catch basin is a deep sump catch basin with a hood. So basically it acts as a small oil water separator for discharging into the town system that heads west to the water quality basin. So it's basically pre-treating a system that has treatment built into it. Same for this catch basin here. This catch basin is also a deep sump hooded catch basin, again, to collect any oils and sediments that we can before discharging to the existing collection system. All right, utility plan briefly. So this site is served by existing water, sewer, gas, and electric. Starting with the easy one, electric is on our site within a transformer right here. We will be connecting directly to that existing transformer. Sewer is up the driveway running north to south, and there is an existing stub that was put into that sewer right at our driveway location right here. We will be connecting to that sewer. Water has two stubs onto the property. There's a 4-inch and a 6-inch on the northwest corner here. They come all the way down to here. So we only need to use one of those because there's no fire suppression within this building. It meets the fire code as far as I understand it. So we will be picking up the 4-inch domestic water service line here, bringing it around to our utility room to serve the building. I want to reiterate that's the existing service line is a 4-inch diameter. We believe that's oversized for our building. It's what exists on site. We did have conversations with Aquarian about the size of that. They have not given us the will serve letter for the amount of water we've requested, but they have given us feedback on the service side. So that they've confirmed we'll get a 2-inch service, not a 4, and we'll get a 1.5-inch meter. So they've acknowledged they can provide water to us. We have not come to a final letter of the capacity or the amount of that water. In terms of back to sewer, the car wash itself, all washing is conducted completely indoors. Within all of the wash bays, there are floor drains that are connected to internal drainage that go through a water reclamation system on site. So all of the wash bays itself connect through basically a header right here, and they go through a series of different tanks. First is an oil water separator, then there's multiple tanks after that, till eventually leads to the tank where the pumps are. It pumps out the clean water to be used in the wash process. Our original presentation to you gave a range of 30 to 40%. Since then, we've contacted a number of different vendors, and these systems can achieve up to a 55% reclamation. And the number is not based on the performance of the system. The number is based on how much reclaimed water can be used in the actual wash cycle. So that's the capping limit, is how much water is used per vehicle, how much of that can be reclaimed, and in what part of the process. So this system that will be designed here will be designed based on the gallons per minute of the sprayers that are used in the wash cycle and how fast we have to extract water. It's not based on the volume or the total daily. It's based on how the car wash needs to operate, how much water we need during the wash cycle.
11 minutes left.
Erosion control plan in compliance with the 2023 guidelines. I'll get right to lighting. We did revise the lighting. We pulled most of the light, and thank you for that, most of the light poles to the interior islands of the site. So you see most of the light poles around the interior islands. The purpose of that was to limit how much lighting we have at the property line. There is a zoning regulation of no more than 0.5 foot candles at the property line. We do achieve that on the east, the south, and the west. Where we found difficulty was along the northerly property line. Part of that difficulty is their parking is on our property line, and the actual light fixtures themselves here and here, their fixtures are on our property. So achieving that 0.5 foot candles is not really possible. We did move the light fixture as far away as we could, but again, the amount of light behind those light fixtures, it can be controlled, but it's difficult to control in 4 feet. So we do have house size shields. We kept low fixtures, they're only 15 feet high in order to minimize the light creep, but as part of the common PAD approval, it appears the lighting is more of a global thing throughout all of these parking lots. And the only place we're not able to achieve 0.5 foot candles is right there for about 5 feet. If that were a sticking point, we would find a way, but we think it's a reasonable approach to the overall development. These fixtures are 3000 K. They are dark sky approved, full cutoff, and I believe meet your regulations. We do have some notes in here about light timing and the reduction of power during off hours. I'll let Attorney Merriam speak to the hours, but when the automatic tunnel is closed, which is the majority of the use, these lights will power down off hours, and there will be some kind of motion sensor or timer that allows them to come on should someone access the site off hour. Very quickly, here's your fire circulation plan. I did have direct conversations with Fire Marshal Torville. He wants 20 feet clear all the way around the site. And that's not just for the turning movements of the truck, it's also for their outriggers and equipment. He wanted 18 feet minimum pavement and mountable curbs. So what that does, not a whole lot of changes to our site. So they're able to access our site through the driveway as proposed. They're able to turn left and go along the bypass lane. It was right here we had a pinch point because of the canopy and the columns of the canopy. So we only had 13 feet plus the curbs right here for bypass. We wanted 18 feet. We're able to accomplish that without moving the edge of pavement by removing the canopy and the island. So you'll see in the architecturals two different renderings. This one here shows very small cantilever canopies over the pay station themselves. The other pinch point is north of the self-serve bay. Again, we had a 13-foot bypass lane with some landscaped islands. By reducing the island width, we're able to provide that 18 feet mountable curb. I had direct conversations with Fire Marshal Torville after submitting this to him, and he agreed this meets what he wants. I can't speak for him in terms of written letter, but I can tell you what he told me, and that this was acceptable, and we can certainly make these amendments in the final site plan. The last thing is the Aquifer Protection Program. As was explained to you, car washes are not a regulated activity as long as they're connected to a publicly owned treatment works or a sewer. We are. And the regulation is written right here. So it says lawfully disposed of through a connection through a public owned treatment works, and it does say all wastewaters. I will point out, after the planning commission meeting, there was some question about the water that residually comes off of cars called carry out on the exit out of the car wash. How is that treated by DEEP? Did they consider it? There's not a lot of guidance on it. I went back to the 2003 public hearing report where they went through the comments that were submitted while they were considering these regulations. Car and truck washing specifically came up as somebody that I believe they commented that it should not be excluded as a regulated activity. And DEP's response to that was car washes, and forgive me, I had it written down, but I guess I'll paraphrase it. Car washes do not pose a hazard to the aquifer protection area as the wastewaters are collected and discharged to sewer. Hazardous materials are not stored and discharged off site. Again, paraphrasing that, I can submit for the record the actual documentation from that hearing, but it is available online. That is really the only thing we're able to find that isn't those words right there. So it didn't feel like enough to us, so I reached out to the DEEP, to their aquifer protection folks, as well as their permitting folks, two different organizations. Permitting, this will be a pre-treatment, so it is discharged to the sewer, and it will fall under a general permit for a non-significant SIU. So we will have to get permits through the state once we're done with this. In terms of the aquifer protection feedback, the response was given directly to me by Melissa Mustawi, that as long as all car and truck washing is conducted indoors, it is not a regulated activity. The reality was the question had not come up before. But car washes naturally, or I won't say naturally, car washes do have carry-out water, which is part of the process. They specifically allow car washes within the APA. It is a known part of a car wash. And nobody at the DP raised any issue with me when I spoke with them or received any correspondence from them. And just so you have it for the record, I will submit the email I received from Ms. Mustawi so that you have that for your record. The last item I will give you before passing, and I apologize, Rocco, I had a lot of stuff to cover, was related to the letter from a professional engineer in regards to the chemicals and wastewater that's discharged off-site. I did prepare a letter. I apologize. I thought it was submitted to you in advance of the meeting. I have it here, dated July 14th. I'll summarize it, but I looked at so in working with the engineer as well as the wastewater department, and I reached out to Simon Eyes USA, who provides the chemicals for these car washes. They sent me the material safety data sheets, and I did a review of them. And there's no hazardous materials in the chemicals that are used at the car wash. They are biodegradable and phosphate free. In addition to that, we asked Simon Eyes about PFAS and the presence of PFAS in any of those solutions. They sent us a letter. They addressed it to the zoning commission, but it's attached to my letter. And it says that there's no known PFAS in the chemicals that are provided to the car wash, and they do not add any chemicals that have known sources of PFAS to those chemicals after the fact. So I will submit that for the record as well.
Question for you,
Yes.
are you done?
I can be. Yes.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
Well, you spoke to the reclamation system.
Yeah.
What happens to the wastewater?
That is discharged to the sewer. So
Okay.
it comes through, there's pumping systems in it that draw the water down within the last tank. If it were to fill up, where it gets beyond the capacity of the pump, or we don't need to use reclaimed water in that wash cycle, it does discharge to the sewer. And just to be clear, the number we asked for from Aquarium does not account for the reduction in water based on the reclamation system. So the reason for that is we used meter data from a similar car wash without quantifiable recycling at the time. And we felt it more appropriate to ask for the water that's needed without design of the reclamation system. We told Aquarium that. They said we will be back with a lower number. But for now, we wanna know if you have this much. And so that's what we asked for, and they're fully aware that we will be coming back, should this go through, with the actual number based on the mechanicals that are put in. So right now, there's 4 or 5 different systems we're looking at. Once they design it, we can submit the final discharge number, or final consumption number to Aquarian, and the final discharge number to your WPCA.
George, how are we doing on time?
2 minutes and 54 seconds. I did pause it during the question and answer. Let me just make one point if I could. This, the engineer's reference to the July 14th letter, we had received that and we had provided to you previously, so.
Okay.
It includes the Simon Eyes attachment. It is in the file.
Okay, so since we had a lot of necessary detail on the aquifer, I'm going to extend your time by 10 minutes. That's very firm, so please keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Again, my name is Rocco Petito, I'm the project architect, I'm with QAM Architecture, 195 Scott Swamp Road in Farmington. So the building, as you have seen it before, hasn't changed. I will show you like kind of the alternate canopies that we tried to use, the design review didn't really like, so we gotta go back to the drawing board on that one. But, you know, the main automatic bay, the touchless bay, the 2 self-service bays, detailing, the equipment room, that all has remained the same. The roof, you know, again, same, the elevations really haven't changed since you've seen them last. We've kind of nailed down the signage, so all the signage is gonna be under the eave except for the self-serve area, and this will only be on the exit side. The renderings have been updated, but as you can see, you know, it's a gabled structure. The materials are dark asphalt shingles. We have some, you know, vinyl board and batten material up in the gables. We have hardy board siding, and then the white PVC boards, split face block down at the bottom. And I do have a physical sample board that you guys can pass around. Run through the rendering. So this is the canopy that we had before that we can't get the big fire truck by, so we'll have to do something much smaller. And design review asked us to revise this, so you'll see this in the next iteration. And then this we were asked to do too, so to see what the building would look like from Hot Meadow. So the top version is sitting at the corner. This is Dorset on the side here, and this is Hot Meadow running this way. You see like the monumental sign that will be there at some point. And then if you notice some of the trees, the ones that are ghosted in there, those are the new proposed trees. And then the solid ones are the ones that are there that are existing now. Then looking south on Hot Meadow, you can see this is where the dumpster enclosure is, right here. It was, the design review pointed out, well, you can see the fence. But when we actually put the real plantings in here, and Biff can talk about that, there's like ground plantings on top of these spruces. The way these should be rendered is the branches should be closer to the ground. So you won't see that little white piece of the dumpster enclosure. And then I'll pass it on to Biff.
Hi, I'm Biff Scheckinger, I'm a licensed landscape architect in state of Connecticut. Hey, George, do we get stoppage time to the 10 minutes or?
No,
There's a,
I'm not, talk to the chairman, sir.
no, that's fine. Stop.
let's hope we can close it on real time. They're showing here where the, there it is, that's where our monumental freestanding sign would be. Again, we're coming back with that detail for you, so. There we go. Now, this is conceptually what we're doing. You'll see on the, so we're keeping in the criteria of your site, but we'll have this all laid out for you. I just want to get through that quickly, and we're not just talking about it. So the big change is, you've seen this, we have still the larger street trees here, the more columnar street trees here. We were asked to also, we've augmented this to keep mitigation for headlights going out to Hot Meadow Street and also for noise attenuation. And then we've upped the planting, as we were talking about, there's the, right there's the dumpster enclosure. And they asked us to make sure it can't be seen from Hot Meadow Street, so we've added a mountain laurel and also a nice American holly plant. And that, let's see, the only big, and then also down here is where the freestanding sign would be with its requisite planting area around it. The big so what is, all the plants are 100% native as you requested. So there's 250, we're putting in 215 plants, of which 156 are shrubs, 40 are ornamental grasses, and we have 18 street trees, and then the American holly for the one evergreen tree. And I believe, there's our plant list. And again, they're all 100% native, and most of them are pollinating characteristics as well. Okay. Oh, this is just an abstract of the same thing. Thank you.
Good evening, for the record, Scott Heskett, licensed engineer in the state of Connecticut, F.A. Heskett and Associates. We wrote a June 22nd, 2026 traffic impact report. In order to take a look at the impacts of this proposed development, we obtained counts from the Connecticut Department of Transportation. We installed an automated traffic volume counter on Dorset Crossing related to a previous development. Intersection turning movement counts were conducted at Route 10 and Dorset Crossing recently in relation to the previous development. We used a 2% per year growth rate to a design year of 2028, and we added to that traffic the traffic projected for the recently approved Chipotle and Starbucks development down on Route 10 next to Big Y Supermarket. That allowed us to project the background traffic volumes for the development. In terms of the site-generated traffic, the introduction of the car wash, or the car wash replacing the previously approved retail development. The car wash, based on the ITE numbers, is going to generate about 172 trips during the afternoon peak hour and 226 during a Saturday peak hour. We kind of use the ITE trips and an amalgamation of the service rate of the proposed tunnel. So we're projecting, based on those numbers, 236 trips during the afternoon peak hour and 241 during the Saturday, slightly higher than ITE indicates. These numbers represent an increase over the retail use on this lot F of about 83 trips during the afternoon peak hour and 147 trips during the Saturday peak hour. The commission should be aware that the Dorset Crossing development was approved as a master plan development a number of years ago and operates under OSTA Certificate 1868. The original approved development on this site had an average daily traffic volume of about 6,200 trips, an afternoon peak hour of 757 trips, and a Saturday peak hour of 684 trips. The current revised development of all the currently approved development, whether it's been constructed or not, including the hotel on the adjacent property, which was not originally part of the Dorset Crossing development, and this proposed car wash would have an ADT of about 5,800, an afternoon peak hour of 495 trips, and a Saturday peak hour of 494 trips, which represents a reduction in peak hour volumes of about 260 trips during the afternoon peak hour and a reduction of about 190 trips during the Saturday peak hour over what this commission previously approved for the development, even including the hotel development. We use those numbers distributed to the roadway network, conducted capacity analysis calculations at the intersection of Route 10 and Dorset Crossing, and I can present to you that that intersection will operate at an overall level of service A, as in Albert, during the morning and afternoon peak hours with average delays of about 8 to 10 seconds per vehicle. And during the Saturday peak hour, the intersection operates at an overall level of service B, as in boy, with average delays of just about 14 seconds per vehicle. The eastbound left-hand turn out of Dorset Crossing operates at levels of service C during all of those peak hours, and it's not uncommon. Side street traffic trying to make a left-hand turn is typically the most difficult, but we have a fully operational signal at that location which will help to move the traffic. We were also asked to take a look at the queuing at the proposed car wash. We used a standard Poisson analysis, and based on the projections, we project the average expected queue at the pay stations will be about 2.2 vehicles during the afternoon peak, and maybe 3.5 vehicles on a Saturday. Average delays of about 73 to 96 seconds, and the probability that the queue would exceed 15 vehicles is about 0% during the PM peak hour and about 2% during the Saturday peak hour. The site plan itself has the ability to have 3 vehicles in the tunnel queue, in the tunnel itself. There's a space for about 5 vehicles behind the tunnel. 14 vehicles can fit in the pay stations, 7 in each one of the rows. You've got an additional 5 spots back to the intersection of the site driveway and the internal site driveway, and perhaps an additional 8 vehicles out to Dorset Crossing, which gives us a potential queue stacking of about 32 vehicles in the queue, plus 3 additional vehicles in the tunnel. So we don't believe that queuing is going to be a significant issue on the site. There will be a handful of days a year when the conditions are just perfect. During the winter after a snowstorm, and it's a really nice day, people are going to want to get their cars washed. Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, the day before prom, and there may be a little extra need to use the services. Queues might be a little bit longer on those days, but the operator has the ability to increase the flow rate of the tunnel if queues start to get longer and unmanageable, and then back it down after queues have been addressed. So that's it for traffic. I think unless Attorney Merriam wants to summarize,
30 seconds.
he's got 30 seconds. He's really good at that.
This concludes our formal presentation. My remarks are adequately covered in the PowerPoint at the end. You have a hard copy. In that I address the compliance with zoning, the plan of conservation and development, and importantly, the need in this marketplace for this particular use that serves a market that's not adequately served by current technology. Thank you for your attention.
I have 2 quick questions by you or what's the estimated daily use of water use?
The estimated daily use of
How
water.
many gallons of water do you anticipate using each day?
That's why I always take an engineer with me. I got a degree in sociology. Don't ask me that. I don't know.
So we submitted to Ocurian a average annual daily water flow estimate of 32,000 gallons per day. Again, it does not include any reclamation, and that's based on meter readings over an 18-month period at a comparable car wash. We added on 36% growth factor for the fact that the tunnel itself is longer, and we added on a 1.5 factor of safety as exactly what is a factor of safety. So those numbers are, we believe, inflated, but again, we'd rather work down and up.
So you're saying that the reclaimed water would be in addition to the 32,000 gallons?
No, it'd be subtracted.
Oh, okay, thank you.
By almost 50%.
Okay.
Could be, yes.
All right, thank you. The other question I had is, do you still intend to have this being a 24-hour a day facility?
That's why we brought the sociology.
Well, sociologists can speak to that. Yes, The way a car wash, we've done a lot of research on other operations, but let me describe it quickly and directly in this way. There are really three time periods we're talking about. The assisted tunnel, which we need several people because a lot of different things go on in the tunnel for the main car wash, and that's going to be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then on each side of that, there's a shoulder for self-service. The self-service lets someone drive into the so-called touchless bay, where you park your car in the middle and the things go around to clean your car. You don't have to get out of your car. And then 2 bays where people can wash it by themselves with the equipment. That's from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. and from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. We are also proposing, and many car washes are open 24/7, that we have an additional period from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. during which people can come for self-service. The numbers on that, the experience in Colchester is on an average of 12 cars during that 6 hours total. It's a very small number, but it's part of the population that can't get there any other time sometimes. And what I propose that we do, and I have a little writing on this, which I'll hand you, is something that we should do more of, but we don't. And that is a conditional approval that says, show me. What I would like to do with the 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., because we're not exactly sure how we can manage the lighting in the way it should be. I'll tell you that. We're not exactly sure how we can manage the lighting the way it should be. The whole area is lit because of the residential business, but we need to manage the lighting. We don't know whether it's gonna be 12 cars an hour. We know it is in Colchester. It could be 5, it could be 15 or 20. Not an hour, for the 6 hour period. So I would like to offer to this commission the proposal that for that period, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., give us a conditional approval that says this, and I've actually written a condition, I'll give it to you, because I also represent commissions and neighborhood groups and the like, so I've thought a lot about this in my nearly 50 years of practice.
Right.
We need a second look. So we would offer to pay the cost of a planner.
I think you've answered that question.
Okay. But the condition, what I really would like to conclude with is the condition would be, we would operate that way for a year, come back, and in your sole discretion, even without cause, you would have a report from a lighting consultant that we would pay the cost of, but you would hire, and a planning or traffic consultant that you would hire, we would pay the cost of, and they'll report back what are the operations like from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. Sorry I went longer than you needed.
Okay, so now we'll open it up for public comment. Again, a reminder, please state your name and address and stay on topic. So, who's first?
Okay. Hi, my name's Thomas Sermon. I live at 11 Charlin Drive in Simsbury. I currently own the car wash in Granby, Connecticut. So I just could give I could give you kind of some real world experience about things that are gonna happen on a car wash and that happen in a car wash lot. First of all, a lot of the concerns are, when people come to a car wash, their car's dirty or contaminated, or their truck is dirty or contaminated, and they're going there to wash off their contaminants, especially in your self-serve. You're gonna have, and also customers bring their own products. So you can't regulate all the products that come. A lot of people spray things. A lot of things, you gotta consider a car wash like a dump for your car. That's where people come and they leave stuff. I've had a 55-gallon barrel of dry cleaning chemicals left at my car wash. Had to deal with that, I've had paint cans. I've had people change their oil in the bays. The bays are the same as theirs. All my stuff is contained, goes to this wastewater place. But I'm not saying that stuff doesn't get on your driveway. Especially when you have self-serve, they're gonna have self-service vacuums. People are gonna come in, they're gonna clean their cars. They're gonna use chemicals and products. They're gonna take the stuff that outside of their cars, outside of normal operating hours, and they're gonna put stuff and leave stuff there. And that's just the reality. You're gonna have to clean up that. I'm not on the aquifer, but I'm still regulated in every way that they are. all my waste, all my water, all my wash water is contained. All my washes have the same types of drains with baffles. All my water goes to the sewage treatment plant here in Simsbury. I don't understand what the aquifer regulation entails because it says in your own policy you cannot have more than 55 gallons of hazardous materials stored on the site. Now, from what I know, that there's a lot of hazardous ingredients in the chemicals that Simonize uses. All right, and I have the MS, this safety shapes data here for, that list these chemicals. And then according to your own regulation, you can only store 2.5 gallons of these on site at any time. Now, these are 55-gallon drums that each of these chemicals come in. I don't know, in my reality, we store these chemicals on our site, inside the car wash, which I'm sure they will too. Disposal. I mean, I went to the car wash in Colchester, on Saturday, because I wanted to see how they were operating. And I got some pictures about their car wash. I'd like to show you. These are the pictures that I took. These are they're staring their empty barrels. These are empty barrels on grass, adjacent to their car wash. This is, you can see how there's hundreds of barrels there, adjacent to their place. Okay, also you want to talk about residual water, especially in the self-serve. Trucks come in, they get filled up.
Leave the pictures with.
I will leave the pictures. The water coming off their car. This is their car wash, not mine. Okay? These are the practices that they're gonna have, and they're gonna be on your aquifer for 100 years, 200 years, and your future generations are gonna wanna use this aquifer. And the board here is legally bound by the state to protect the aquifer. And just because
Can you go back to the program?
some of these, some of these regulations, are you guys sure that what from Simonize? Because I know that drying agents, which are the last things that go on the car, the clean, wet, rinse water, which they call it, is the water that's going to be on the cars, the trucks, that's going to be the drip and residual water. That has, most drying agents, they separate water from hard surfaces. PFAS do that. Different chemicals. I'd like to see that, maybe you should have, has this town asked any environmental, specialists or lawyers to look into what kind of chemicals Simonize or all these companies use, what the drying agents and waxes are, and what the residual is going to be on your parking lot, things like that. Those things this is permanent. It's going to be there. It's over the aquifer. I'm not over the aquifer. This is my business. I've been a resident for 30 or 50, my whole life. Moved out to Heartland for a little while, back in Simsbury. There's also gonna be traffic, noise, some crime, things like that are gonna happen on
It's your time.
okay, I'm just wanting to get to know.
All right.
Also, there are hazardous materials.
Thanks.
Also, they did go over on their time,
Yeah.
so I think the public deserves to take consideration. And these are the list of the Simonize data sheets. And these are the chemicals that were on their site that I'd like to submit to you so you can see if there are hazard chemicals that are against your regulations to store in quantity. Thank you.
You got George? Hey, Chris Latelli, Centerwood Road, Planning Commissioner, appearing in person because some things are more important than email. This proposal violates any number of tenets within the plan of conservation and development that the town is bound to, starting with protecting natural resources, which now has its own chapter as of the latest revision. We all know that this exists on an aquifer. We also know that 3 of their catch basins don't flow to the city sewer as is required by the regulations. To that gentleman's point, anything coming off of a car, and we've all been in a car wash at some point in our life, the car doesn't come out of the car wash perfectly dry. There are something dripping off of it. I couldn't tell you what it is, whether it's oil, whether it's water, whether it's PFAS. But it's going into those 3 catch basins, rest assured, which don't go to the city sewer, they go west into a containment, which then eventually I assume goes into the aquifer after some period of time. Again, I can cite every page if you'd like, but the POCD has a number of covenants and demands that we protect natural resources, water among them, chief among them. It's referenced numerous times. The number of problems with this proposal, I spent 2 hours last Tuesday explaining and asking questions about and didn't get very many good answers. I don't know who's taking the time to watch that. It was quite a lengthy hearing, but I think at the end of the day, we need answers as to how they're going to operate this 32,000 gallon a day enterprise pulling from the aquifer that apparently doesn't even have enough water left in it to satisfy the demands of the waterfall at Millwrights downtown. And we're all being told to conserve water as of 2 weeks ago, I believe it is, 3 weeks ago now, because there's not enough water because we're in a drought for the 3rd year in a row. And somehow we are gonna be just fine spending 20,000 gallons, 30,000 gallons, whatever it is a day, in addition to what the community already takes out of the aquifer and isn't being replenished at the rate that's needed. So I don't need 5 minutes. If you want more minutes, go back and watch the recorded hearing. Thank you.
I'm Jamie Skiba, 21 Millwood Circle. Definitely will not need 5 minutes. But we hear the term 100-year storm and it kind of gives us this sense of security because it's not supposed to happen very often. But in the past 10 years, there have been 4 100-year storms in New England. Every weekend, we hear about people dying in floods, flash floods, that happen in extremely localized places. And by the grace of God, we live in a valley where that type of thing is a little more rare than other places, but odds are it may happen here. I grew up on the ocean side in New Jersey, and every so often there would be a major flood and there would be E. coli in the drinking water and E. coli in the ocean and you couldn't go swimming. So my question is, when we do get a major flood, what is going to happen with all those chemicals and, how long are they going to live in that aquifer and what kind of remediation is there? With climate change the way that it is, I feel that it is wholly irresponsible to allow this to go forward when there are laws in place for a reason, to protect these aquifers for a reason. My property is worthless if I don't have a well that has potable drinking water. And what will the town do if everybody in my neighborhood winds up with drinking water that is not drinkable? What will the town do to remediate that? So that's my question. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Ashley Byros, 22 Gordon Street. The POCD 2024 update, quote, "We seek an environmental design around the express needs of individuals conducive to the formation of community and preservation of the town's landscape," end quote. I'd argue that this car wash does not align with this goal and instead directly opposes it. I come here with an assertion that personally I think car washes are a waste of a lot of energy. Sorry. But that's my opinion and that doesn't really matter here, but here are facts. So last week's meeting, the 2 arguments made by the lawyer, the primary arguments it seems were, 1, the increase in multifamily housing means that more people want a car wash because they can't wash their cars in their driveway. Number 2, well, it's already zoned for commercial use, so our plan will be less bad. Neither of those reasons are reasons to approve a project, but here are a few reasons to reject it. Car washes are inherently wasteful. Their outputs are water, chemicals, whatever off-run they're talking about, and idling cars, to name a few. HUD research shows that there is no added value to a community, nor its property value, when adding a car wash. Other things, like a pharmacy, would add property value. So yes, there is value in ownership of such business for these gentlemen, I'm sure because the TCJA just revived bonus depreciation. The increased demand for water in this business, whatever we're talking about,
It's too much. Will absolutely increase water prices for other aquarium customers. I know that when demand goes up, price also goes up, so that's a problem I see. And I, similar to the last gentleman, sit on the aquifer and I have a well. So my question also is, what are you gonna do as a town when my property value goes down because of all the garbage that's coming into my aquifer? Cars are gonna sit idling in a line, adding smog and other particulates to the air, not great. If this is a touchless operation, how many jobs are we adding? What's the value to our town? Oh, and as Nick said, we're in a drought, so mill rights, ask them. But not sure, speaking to the gentleman, the lawyer's first point, I don't know if anybody asked anybody, like if anybody wants a car wash in this town. I love the one in Granby, it's really close. So I go up there, or I go down to Avon, and it's fine, it's not an aquifer. So if it's really the demand, if there's truly a demand in this town, great, prove it. This proposed car wash lacks any benefit to the community and should be rejected. I have no issue with the development of this town, I love it, this is why I moved here. But it should align with the POCD to be a net positive for our community. And just because you can do something, doesn't mean you should.
Wait, I'm gonna apologize for putting my back to you, and I appreciate and respect the last three comments, very good. But we live in a democracy, so I'm gonna give a slightly different perspective.
Name and address, please. Name
Sorry.
and address, please.
My name is William Otis, I live at 22 Lucy Way. So,
One second,
good
Ms.
evening.
One second, Ms. Otis. When someone is speaking, please in the audience, don't comment.
Good evening, members of the commission. I've owned a home in Simsbury since 2013, and I'm here tonight as a resident and a friend of the applicant's family to speak in support of the proposed wash at 10 Dorset Crossing. I want to start with the people behind it, because that's what I can speak to. Rodney, Ron, Joe, very hardworking, they're very dedicated, they're disciplined, and they're extremely ethical people. His family runs a multi-generational construction business. Everything I know about how that family operates comes down to their accountability. They build properly, they stand behind their work, and they stay involved even after the ribbon is cut. This is not a national chain from 3 states away. It is a Farmington Valley family putting its own name in the ground here. When operationally questions come up, with any business they operate, they will pick up the phone, they will show up. In my experience, that is the best predictor of whether a business is a good neighbor. Second, as a resident, this project strikes me as the right use in the right place. The parcel sits inside Dorset Crossing Planned Area Development, a district this town deliberately created for a mixed commercial use. And the proposal is modest in scale, 1 story, roughly 7,000 square feet, and about an acre of land. Full service hours are expected to mirror the Pride Station and the BP Station. Commercial operations already serving the corridor. This isn't a new kind of activity for this stretch of town. It's consistent with what we already have here. Third, the need is real. Today, residents drive to Avon, to Canton, fortunately up the street, buying and spend the rest to get a car wash, and spend the rest of their earned money in someone else's town, buying groceries, gasoline, lunch, coffee, dry cleaning. Between the road salt a New England winter leaves behind and the soot from the Canadian wildfire haze that coated our cars just last week, keeping a vehicle clean here isn't a luxury, it's a maintenance. This project keeps the everyday spending in Simsbury, adds local jobs, and grows the commercial tax base without adding a single student to our school. I know this commission will give every aspect of this application rigorous review it deserves. The rigor is why. Simsbury is brimming with charm and natural beauty. You'll see that on your site. And I respect that. Simsbury is also a place where history and modern day amenities come together. I simply want the record to reflect that a 13-year homeowner in this town believes in this project and, much more importantly, believes in the family that is behind it. I'm glad to put my name to that tonight. Thank you for your valuable time and your service to this town.
Hi, my name's Rebecca. I live at 55 Dorset
What's your
Crossing.
last name, Rebecca?
Bellin. And just bear with me, I'm not a fan of public speaking.
It's okay.
So living at Dorset Crossing, this will affect many people that I live with. The entire complex I'm speaking on behalf of. We let me gather my thoughts, I'm sorry. Doing a little bit of research, it appears that our tap water does come from our locally sourced aquifers. And is that gonna be in our water? Are you gonna be putting forever chemicals in our drinking water?
Direct your comments to us, please.
Well, I would like that answered. Is that gonna be in our drinking water and our showering water? Is forever chemicals? And are you gonna be prepared for the lawsuits that are gonna come out of it? This is a protected area and it needs to be treated as such. So I also would like to know what is the decibel noise level gonna be? We would like to also hear that from just a couple hundred feet away. How loud is that gonna be for us being a 24/7 establishment? I really would like to know that answer. If you guys can answer that, that'd be wonderful. And same with our drinking water. If you can answer that, tell me, is that gonna be affecting us? Are we gonna end up getting cancer? Are we gonna end up dying because of what you're putting in our drinking water? And when do you plan on starting this build? And what are you gonna do for our complex in order for us to not listen to this for however long it goes on for? So I don't know if we're gonna get answers for this today, but I have quite a few people here from my complex that would like answers to these questions. So I would like to direct it towards you guys, whoever would like to answer this.
Okay, this is an opportunity for people to make their public comment. It's not interactive.
Well, it's hard to make the comment if I don't know the facts. And seeing the facts is that it just feels like this is a money grab in that this is being built for greed. And it's really sad and disappointing that they're gonna ruin our aquifers for this, for a car wash. And then they're going to disrupt both the complexes behind. So it would be great to know how you guys are going to prevent our lives from being a living hell when we have an outdoor area that is meant to be enjoyed. We have a pool, we have all this stuff that we pay a premium for. And you're telling me we're gonna hear this 24/7? So thank you, and we really would like answers to all of that.
Hi, my name is Michelle Ciccolone. I am the owner of Simsbury Therapeutic Massage and Wellness. I'm right across the parking lot. I am here to obviously address, I am also going to be listening to that noise. I run a massage business where people would like to relax. I am also concerned, because it's one of the reasons I used to be at Hot Meadow right across from Simsbury Meadows. Lovely, great place. However, when the music plays, it's not really relaxing, especially when they're practicing. I'm also here to address the traffic, because if there is any backup that goes around that corner, my clients are gonna get stuck in that. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go on the wrong side of the road, or I'm gonna go through the hotel parking lot and go around, and they're not gonna be happy with me. And I'm not gonna have my clients be in that traffic. Also, I guess I get to see the dumpster because it's protected from the road, but I get to see it. Also, we are obviously very close. My parking spaces are gonna be centimeters away, so I don't even get to block that with trees or anything. And I am there 7 days a week, so I know the last time the traffic person said that, well, it's a medical building, so, no one's gonna be there on the weekend. I am there on the weekend. I am there 7 days a week. I am also hardworking and dedicated. I also love Simsbury. And I don't think it's really our responsibility to help the apartment dwellers wash their car. Okay, there are plenty of car wash. I also go to your car wash. It's 1.8 miles away. I don't think we need another one. I really don't want Hot Meadow to become the Berlin Turnpike. So I think that we really should really think about what we're doing here. Is it for money? Because it's not gonna help my business at all.
Good evening, John Torres, 55 Dorset Crossing. So as a resident of the adjacent apartments, I'm asking this commission to recognize that a car wash with its constant vacuum, dryer noise, evening lighting, and queuing traffic is fundamentally incompatible with the homes just feet away and inconsistent with the residential character of the zone. Before this moves forward, I'd like to ask the applicant to state on record what the decibel level will be at our property line during peak vacuum and dryer usage hours, and what happens when the queue of waiting cars backs up into the street. The traffic light at the end of that street takes at least 5 minutes to turn green. I'd also like to ask the applicant to explain how they plan to protect the people who use this street every day, from children playing in the area, cyclists, and residents of the neighboring building with multiple sclerosis who walk and use electric wheelchairs to get to the supermarket on a daily basis. Who bears the responsibility when a driver exiting a car wash lane can't see a wheelchair user on the sidewalk? Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Frank Misericordia. Thank you all for the unenviable job that you guys are doing right now. I've lived at 7 Willard Street for 30 years, so I have already seen this aquifer contaminated one time by Colborough Tobacco, where my well was tested by DEP for pesticides, and some of our neighbors on the backside of this, our development had to go to charcoal filters. 10% of all the water on the planet is fresh water. 1% of that is potable drinking water. Now, when you have a resource like that, that's a precious commodity. So in the industry that I do, you have to take safety and elevate it to the 100% level. So in our thing, we have a system of checks, A through D. And on the D check, we pull out an interior of an aircraft and we take it all the way down to the ribs of the spars, and we check for fatigue, stress, fractures, everything comes out. 20, 15, 30 years down the road, what's happening underneath this building that I'm assured that it's not slowly seeping into my water? And now your town is gonna have to be a cost and reward. How much is it gonna cost for the town to run up water to our neighborhood? Because that's what's gonna end up happening if we lose those wells. And that's some great drinking water, by the way, it tastes delicious. So I just think this is a high risk for a precious commodity that you guys are deciding to put on top of an aquifer, 2 of them, that could wipe out both aquifers and then cost you guys to have to run water and sewer into our neighborhood. So that's all I want to say.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Max Gernazan. I live in 24 Cocktail Way. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for allowing us to voice our opinions. I think ultimately, I know there's a lot of emotions going on in this room right now, but we're all here essentially for a common goal. I think that's everyone that lives in Simsbury, and I'm using the term everybody loosely, but I think, we moved here because we love Simsbury for what Simsbury has to offer. I think water treatment, I think safety, I think the mom and pop businesses, I think we all share the same end goal. With that being said, being a physician, I know part of it is to trust the process. All these concerns are valid, but at the end of the day, there are experts that are reviewing all of these things, and I think I've known the Goldbergs for 10 plus years, and there's a lot of construction that's been going on in Simsbury with or without our consent. There's hotels, there's apartments, there's gonna be more to come. Personally, the Goldbergs, they are a good family. This is not a private equity. These are people from the Farmington Valley that understand Simsbury. I mean, they come here and utilize the resources, utilize the gym, eat at our restaurants, and they understand what Simsbury is all about. With that being said, if it was up to me, I would rather have people who are our neighbors, who are essentially our family, who are next door to us, that are going to provide businesses for our town. These are not, people from outside of state coming here that don't care about the town, just want to build. A lot of these contractors, a lot of these construction people, they come here, they see a beautiful town, and they want to destroy it. I personally moved to Simsbury and built a home here because I value the nature, I value the farms, I like the quiet, I love the bears, I love everything, okay? So I think it's one thing to look at it from a business aspect, and there's a lot of information that, listen, we don't understand that. Let's be real here. Everyone thinks they go on Google. Google tells them the information. Historically, the Goldbergs, all of their businesses are tried and true. They go through the proper avenues, the proper channels. Something is going to be built here. We all know that. You don't know what the heck it's going to be. Who knows what it's going to be? But I do know if I have an option to choose the people behind a successful business, I would stand by the Goldbergs 100%. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Shelfie, 55 Dorset Crossing. I just wanted to say that first thing, I wasn't planning on speaking, but I'm going to speak. It's nice that the developer has a wingman that has been here since 2013. Well, my family's got 100 years on, because my grandfather came here in 1913, worked down at Ensign Bickford. I grew up in a Ensign Bickford home. I also grew up as an older young man up in West Simsbury. I owned a home on Firetown for 30 years. So this isn't just a NIMBY type of a thing because I'm here as a Dorset Crossing resident. And looking at it, I have a lot of concerns about this. And when I found out that there was going to be a car wash put at 10 Dorset, the first thing I thought, and I told one of my friends that told me, I said, is that for the people at Dorset Crossing that are going to get their cars filthy from the construction that's going to happen for the Holiday Inn Express when we come in and out of Dorset Crossing? So a little tongue in cheek, but again, in looking at it, it's definitely a concern. The gentleman that I won't address him, I won't turn around, but the gentleman that did the traffic study, I wanted to know if that incorporates the approximately 200 cars that park at Dorset Crossing at any given time. And it's pretty close to 200 because I counted them yesterday. And there's also about 30 in the place up on top as well. So approximately 230 cars in and out all day. So that I think has to come into play as well. The other thing I did want to tell or mention about traffic, there's times I've come out of Dorset, and again, depending on the day or depending on the time, it's taken me about 10 minutes to get down to Liberty Bank, just because that was where the construction going on for Chipotle. There's another pad right next to it, so I'm assuming that there's going to be more construction there as well. The addition of, and I will try to stay on task, but it's all one big group, is I have no idea when the Holiday Inn Express is going to be incorporated, because access is coming in through Dorset Crossing, from what I believe. And in looking at some of the plans that I had seen, that 120 unit hotel is gonna be placed on the northernmost and westernmost side of that property, which means it's gonna be very close to the Dorset Crossing Street. And again, there's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of concerns, and I just hope that the commission keeps that in mind, where the traffic is increased immensely on Hot Meadow. So please just consider that. And then the other thing, excuse me, is 24/7 with lighting. There's a lot of the buildings at Dorset Crossing that will be able to see that all night. And that is a concern for me as well. And the other fact of the matter is that being here my whole life, I don't know who the heck's really gonna wanna wash their cars at 2:30 in the morning, except somebody that's driving home from a bar, maybe, and just hanging out, maybe. Not a lot of traffic, I don't see it, but again, if studies were done, studies were done. But I just wanted to voice my opinion on a few things, hopefully give you some specifics about someone that's been here my whole life. And I love this town as well. So I just asked to, growth need to be responsible. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Demeski. Been here since 1970. We live at 20 Butternut in Weetag. Interestingly, a lot of time and effort was put into a beautiful presentation tonight. Commercial project expertise from every level, but we've got to get down to the basics. Let's start with water. We have water on the left side coming in. That's Aquarian. We have water on the right side going out. It's to our friends at the Simsbury Water Pollution Control Plant. The water coming in is coming from a number of sources. It's coming from Massachusetts through the Farmington River, which is currently in drought condition, typically 350 CFS cubic feet per second is the going rate for the Farmington River to be totally healthy, to keep the fish alive, to keep the fishing industry, fly fishing industry going. We're at 100 CFS. I can tell you that because I have another property up in New Hartford and I live on the river. So I see ankle deep river water coming down, heading back where past to Simsbury. So now we see we are in a drought condition and entering the tail end of the summer could be extreme drought conditions. We don't know. We've sort of been a little bit fortunate with a reprieve in the center of it all. However, we have resources that come into play downtown. The Hot Brook and the Stratton Brook Aquifer are being overdrawn at this moment in time by our friends at Aquarian Water. And Aquarian Water is responsible for overdrawing those downtown wells that feed drinking water to 60% of our town's population. So when you go past Millwrights and you look at a pond that typically has water in it and flows over the dam and back to the Farmington, we have a dried up pond in the middle of our town. So Aquarian is not a company that I have a lot of faith and trust in. We don't have a number for this project on the input of water that is concrete. 32,000 may be a good number to start with. If things go well and the numbers of cars that they wash go up exponentially, we could end up with 40 or 50,000 gallons a day drawn from our aquifer. Where's that water gonna come from? We've spread ourselves so thin, we have a 228 acre building project that just was approved in Avon. Well, we supply the wastewater treatment plant with Avon water from a number of sources already. So there's 228 apartments and condos that are coming online. They're gonna be requiring water. Where's that water gonna come from? It's gotta come from an aquifer, guys. Simply put, we're running out of aquifers. If you go a little bit south and you start looking at the aquifer protection map, you're gonna see a B level. What I shouldn't even refer to it as a B level. It is a level A protected aquifer that exists on Nod Brook. It happens to be of interest to me because it happened to fall directly opposite the horseshoe of the Silverman application that took place last week. I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna abide by your time limitation. I do have a little bit more to say, and I don't know whether you're gonna allow me an extra minute or so
Yeah,
to
what
do
you
it.
can do, if there's anything else you'd like to add, you can submit it in writing.
I'd prefer not to.
The
applicant got it.
I only took like 2 minutes. You
Doesn't
should have the
matter.
rest of my 3.
Why did the applicant get more time?
We're not having a debate here. The rules are each person gets 5 minutes.
Hi, Susan, can you hear me? I feel like I'm talking really loud. Susan Van Cleve, 6 Mallard Circle in Terriffill. I'm gonna try not to repeat too much of what was said, because people have made many points. I do wanna remind you something that was already said. For the zone change amendment, the staff report recommends approval because the car wash is in a mixed use, consistent with the POCD, but the POCD also states we want to protect our groundwater resources and water quality. So just because it's in one place in the POCD, I think you should think about the whole POCD in a more global way. My point that I wanted to make is I also know that it's going to be recommended by the staff that you approve the actual zone change for a car wash. And if I understand that, you're just saying a car wash. It isn't even necessarily this car wash, that this is a use that we could have here because it wasn't there before. And I know that you were waiting for some information, and it seems like that information might have been more important when you were approving the site plan. But I think that a lot of that information, like the report from Aquarian, I guess the engineering wastewater report came in, but I don't even know if you had time to read it. It just seems to me, or I would ask you, do you think tonight you have enough information to decide if a car wash should be on this site, and because of it being in an aquifer protection zone? And I understand, I'm a big fan of science and engineering. I think a lot of you know why. I spent many years studying it and teaching it. But I also feel like when somebody is promoting their project, there may be a little bit more to look at. I would really like to know what's in those chemicals. I read a little bit about chemicals. I didn't read about the brand they used. They were not all biodegradable. I do want to make one comment. The PFAS is going to be banned in Connecticut as of January 2028, which doesn't mean that they aren't going to be there if this gets built before then. But I just guess I want to ask you, because water is life, we're in a drought, this is not going to change. It's going to come and go. It could get worse because of climate change. And do you think you have enough information to just make the decision that this is a good spot for a car wash? I do not think it is. I do not think the risk is, there's too much risk, and as people said, there's car washes in other places, and some of us our cars last for years without even using a car wash, ever. I mean, you know, maybe my car doesn't look as nice as some of you would like it, but yeah. So that was my question. Do you think you have enough information? And I would say no, and maybe you need to put off the decision about whether a car wash should be in this location. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Just want to remind you, because I don't think this has anything to do with, but that car washes also are exempt when we do have from the water ordinance. So car washes are exempt, and now we're going to have another car wash. It's just something to know about that, because when we're all told to, oops, I'm done. Sorry, you get it.
Hi, I'm Vicki North. I live at 88 Hedgehog. I also was not planning to speak tonight, so it's Mayor Wamble, I'm sorry. I'm definitely concerned about the aquifer. I'm concerned in particular that Aquarian may only be reviewing projects individually instead of as a whole. That they may look at this and say, oh, we can supply this. I'm not sure that they're looking and saying we can supply this and all the apartments over here and the apartments over there and this other project over here. As many people have said, we're in a drought. This is a problem. We're now looking at a business that wants to pull a lot of water, and I'm really concerned that this is not going to work. The reality versus the hope are not going to go together. I'm wondering in particular, as a possible amelioration would be, are they looking at rainwater harvesting? Are they looking at any way that they can bring in their own water instead of taking it from the aquifer? I'm also really concerned about groundwater contamination, and I'm wondering if there's a way for them to basically over-engineer their wastewater handling so that they will reduce the likelihood of there being any sort of overflow, which I think is a very legitimate concern from people. And a way to capture more of that water that drips off the vehicles, in particular, like the pickup trucks and such. Is there a way for them to set up something that will capture more of that to avoid impacting our groundwater? I also was wondering if it's possible to directly write in restrictions on the chemicals they're allowed to use. We've heard a lot of comments about the chemicals that are used. Are they biodegradable? Biodegradable does not equal safe. Biodegradable does not mean it's going to go away fast. Those do not equate. But maybe there's a way to put restrictions in their permit that limits the chemicals they can use to something that we feel more comfortable with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Boyko, and I don't usually like to speak unless I've thoroughly studied an application inside and out, which I have not done on this one.
Well, can you remind us of your address?
I don't give my address on TV, sorry. Everybody knows where my address is anyway. I generally don't speak, and I was in another meeting, so I didn't see the presentation, but when I walked in, I had to double check who was at the tables because I thought it was a wetlands meeting, and this is zoning. And at the heart of this is the decision about whether a zone change or a zone amendment is going to take place. And from what I can read from a quick overview is that this particular pad site is zoned for 2 buildings, retail and office. And the only reason we're here is because the applicant would like to put in something different than what is in that zone. And the entire point of zoning is to protect individual rights. People that live on one property move into that property knowing what's going to be next to them or near them so they can make decisions about where they're going to settle or live their lives. And in this case, I think we need to be very careful about making zoning changes on individual properties when zoning has already been created. There's a reason you all go through the process of looking at our overall zoning and deciding what fits where and is appropriate for the overall town. And I don't need to reiterate for you, in addition to the water, all of the other reasons why a change in application to a car wash has a significant impact versus office buildings or retail. I also just wanted to point out that a lot of people are talking about, in many zoning hearings, about who the owners are, who the applicants are they good people, are they local, are they not local, have they been here a long time, do they care about our town? And at the end of the day, who the owners are is kind of irrelevant. We shouldn't be making zoning exceptions for people that have lived here a long time, or people that we think are good people, or people that have some kind of influence in town, nor should we be rejecting applications for things that we think about the people. We have found on other projects that properties get sold. They get sold to private equity, they get sold to other developers who then say, I'm not bound by the agreement I made with the town. That other developer said he'd keep the lights low, or the other developer said he'd put sidewalks in that would go from here to eternity, and now I'm not bound by that. So the decisions that get made here need to get made based on the property and whether we need to be making special changes outside of what we have on the books for individual properties. Thank you.
Good evening. Richard Bidwell, 6 Knollwood Circle. And I wasn't really sure whether I was going to speak tonight or not, but there a couple things came up listening to other folks, and it kind of got me thinking. So a couple of things with reference to the gentleman that's been here his whole life, generationally. I can't say that. I've been here 14 years. I met my wife here. I lived in Manchester 50 years. I'm a home improvement contractor. I work here in town, surrounding towns. First thing that comes to mind is the gentlemen that want to do this. Basically, I understand a couple of brothers. I am a small businessman. I understand. You want to start a business, you want to be successful, you want to make money. Their way to make money is to use approximately, I'm going to take a shot at this, the water consumption of that 320 apartments that's going to go into Dorset at 100 gallons a unit. Maybe that's 320 units worth of water a day to benefit 2 people versus Dorset Crossing 320 apartments. So if you put that in perspective, they want to earn a profit using 32,000 gallons of all of our water to benefit the 2 of them and their family. Well, great. From a business perspective, you want to make money, you want to be successful. With their business, the more successful they are, the more of our water they're going to use. So that's if you don't want to have a successful business, okay, we're not going to use that much water. Well, you're going to use a lot of water because you want to be successful. Maybe they're going to start doing the coupon book. As many car washes as you want a month for a set price. People being how they are, they're going to use it twice a week, 3 times a week. A friend of mine went to the car wash today in Avon, he washed for an hour. And he said 95% of the cars going in that car wash were clean when they went in. So people are using they're washing clean cars because, hey, I spent $60 for the month, I'm gonna get my money's worth. And their business model is use the water, you gotta use the water or money's not coming in. So that's the whole point of the business, right? They're gonna use the water. So I don't know where the wastewater is going to go. I don't know. Nick, everybody else talked about all that. I get it. Parking spaces. From what I understand, there's going to be 4 or 5 vacant spaces, and they say for the employees. How many people are working there during the day? Are there more than 5? Are they carpooling? Where are they parking? Are they going to park at the massage ladies' spots right across the way? How many people are in this car wash? Where are they parking? Right? We've got they've got all the spaces for the vacuum cleaners. Well, if the business is cranking and they're doing well, the employees can't take up those spots. Where are they parking? Are they in Dorset Crossing? I don't know. But nobody's thought about it. I don't think anybody's thought about it. I don't think anybody talked about it. And the last thing I want to touch on is the traffic. Coming from Manchester, being a businessman, my father owned the same business I do in Manchester. I went to so many of these meetings with my father. I can't even tell you. Manchester, if you're familiar with the Buckland Hills area, used to be a golf course. It's the Buckland Mall. Standing at the golf course, we used to look out at tobacco fields as far as you could see. If you're familiar with Manchester, and probably most of you have gone there, when you go there now, it's unrecognizable. Every single business, every apartment building, every condominium, everything that's been built there went to a meeting like this. And every one of them was given a traffic study. Every single time. And if I hear one more time, there will be no appreciable increase in the amount of traffic or the waiting times at the lights, I'm gonna throw up. Okay? Because I know I don't think these folks are being disingenuous, but I think their formulations are skewed. The real world tells me when I get my coffee every morning at Pride with the other 4 or 5 businessmen that I sit with every morning, and you can see me there at 7:30 every morning, and I go to get out of that parking lot just since Dunkin' Donuts has come in. I'm sitting there I counted yesterday, 45 seconds to get out of that driveway. And lucky, somebody let me out, and I was lucky enough to sit at the light now at Big Y for another 45 seconds, then I could be on my way. Listen, I'm telling you, they told us the road can handle it, the roads can handle it in Manchester. Buckland Drive went from 2 roads when I was 18 years old in high school. It's 6 lanes wide, and it's 7 in some places. Oh, they can't do it, they don't have the room. Oh, yes, they do. Yes, you do. Eminent domain says, I'm taking your front yard, here comes the road. Get ready.
Julian Weaver, I live at 13 Willard Street. I'm not a well-educated person on these matters. I moved here in 2021 from across the country. But what I have learned about Simsbury in the 5 years that I've lived here is that they have opinions. They are so passionate. I've never seen people more passionate about where they live, the businesses that are here. I came from the Seattle area. You have grocery stores that are open 24 hours. You have gas stations that are open 24 hours. It was quite a shock when I couldn't go anywhere past 8 or 9 o'clock. I liked doing my grocery shopping at 11 o'clock when I got off work, 11 o'clock in the evening, no people there. I had to adjust, but I love it here. And I understand people wanting to people wanting to run businesses. I understand that we're all trying to survive, we're all trying to do what's best for our families. But when what's best for your family affects hundreds of families that don't even want your business there, what good is having a business when the people in the immediate area of it don't appreciate it, don't see a point of it being there, on top of the fact that it, can potentially drain or harm their water source. I've never had a well before. I didn't even know what an aquifer was until 2 weeks ago when this was brought to our attention. Again, I came from the city on the West Coast. We had sewers, we had this and that and the other. I have a well that I now have to think about. I've had to get a new well pump since we moved there. There's so many things we have to think about. Septic tanks, what's that? I have to think about how much goes into there now and then get that pumped. And so it's, I don't know a lot about these things, but I know people. I was a hairstylist for 20 years. I know people, I know they have opinions, and I know, the people who live outside of this aquifer area might not think about it. They might think, oh, cool, car wash, I'll go watch it. But the people right here, the people in this room, I'm gonna guess most of them aren't going to use the car wash if it's there. And that's just something to consider for those who are wanting to put a car wash there. I'm happy to go a mile up the road when I even washed my car. Honestly, I used baby shampoo and washed my car a month ago. I had to look up, what can I use at home because I couldn't go out anywhere and afford to do, a regular car wash. But yeah, I wasn't even planning on coming to this meeting today. My wife was gonna come, but she's sick and she asked me and I threw a fit, but I'm still here and I'm glad I'm here because I can see how passionate people are in person, not just on the internet. So with all the respect in the world, I'm glad your family has a successful business. And that's wonderful for you. But I don't think anyone here is going to appreciate expanding that business into our town on top of our aquifer. Thank you.
I'm Sharon Byron. I'm at 17 Crestview Road, so I get to look directly at the white buildings that they built every day. I know that the town approved having the affordable housing area up on Dorset Crossing is part of the for the MS people. I know the people that had to deal with that. I know how difficult it is for them to get around. None of them are here tonight. I grew up in this town. I helped build this library. I helped build the Cobb School. I helped build and support the event center, which is now blocked off with fences. We are changing dramatically from when I went to high school here. My parents were very sick because we had a dug well that got polluted on Great Pond Road. And we had to hook up to the water when we acquired the farm later on. I raised my children on Horseshoe Circle when we first brought that development into town and put the gas lines up for McLean Farm, which is built in the middle of a swamp up there, and we have now approved more building up there. I think it's time for everybody to wake up, appreciate the aquifers we have here, and to not continue building. When I went to the water company in Simsbury, and just today went to the water company in Granby, I found out that the wastewater from Granby goes into Simsbury. So we process the water from his car wash already in town. Nobody knew that. You really have to dig deep to start looking at this stuff. So please take a look, okay? There are more people there. I'm one of the oldest people in this room, and I'm healthy because I swim 5 days a week at Westminster, which has a very clean and a very good reputation in this town because they keep everything on site and they build and they keep that property in good condition for our town since 1888 when it was first built here. I could be like my mother with arthritis so deformed that the poor woman had 2 knees and a hip and totally arthritic hands. I stay with my brother who's a Vietnam veteran. He graduated in 55. So the two of us look over at this white monument that's already the buildings that are there, and we want to put a car wash? I don't think so. I bought a car that has a clear coat. You just go out in the rain and it just, salt goes off pretty quickly. I also bought a hybrid car. And it took me 3 years to get there because I had to do it on a bicycle from Crestview because we didn't have a good highway here. So that's what's happening to this town. we're losing it an inch at a time. Time for us to have clean water and take care of it, and time for us to keep our green in Simsbury. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak?
Finish what I started?
Yes.
So we
Yeah, I want me to call it, move to close? Yeah, I move to close the public hearing on ZC 2618.
have a second.
Go ahead. Are you seconding? Second.
There's a motion by Tucker, a second by Jackie. Any discussion on closing the public hearing? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Public hearing is closed. So my recommendation, and obviously I'll listen to other commissioners if they disagree, is given that there are a number of open issues with respect to the impact of this project on the aquifer, maybe some additional input, and I would recommend that we refer this to the Conservation Commission to take a look at these issues and report back. Just something you want to say?
So to just be clear, any additional information would have to be directly related to the site plan and not the zone change, since you closed the hearing on the zone change.
Okay, that's fine, thanks, so, okay, we're gonna refer to the Conservation Commission.
You can still do that, yes.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, so,
Say that again, George. I'm sorry.
So you closed the public hearing
Right.
on the
Right.
master plan and zone change, so you can't get any more information.
Right.
But you can get information related to the elements of the site plan.
Got it.
Since
Okay.
it doesn't
Thank
require
you.
a public hearing.
Thank you.
right, so that's what,
Okay, yeah, just want to be clear.
thanks for the clarification, George. So with that in mind, what do the commissioners think about referral to the Conservation Commission?
Yeah, I have a lot of concerns about the chemicals and that have, I think we need more information in general. I have concerns about our water supply. And again, I think I need more information on that, so I would support that.
So, I'll make a motion that we refer.
Sure, George, there was a draft motion up there, wasn't there to?
There was
refer?
not, there was not.
There was not?
No.
Okay.
So
So,
I think you wanna, I think you get two things, right? So
Yeah.
one, I think it makes sense to do a motion to refer the applicant, these site plan application to the Conservation Commission.
Yep.
I would do that and get a vote, and then we can move on to the applications.
So.
Okay. Sure, so I move to confer site plan ZC 26-19, that's the right one, right?
Yeah, that is.
Okay. To the Conservation Commission.
Okay, for a second.
Second.
Is Stacy seconds, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 6-0. Okay, so,
Right, so now you have two applications, you have the master plan and you have the site plan application, so you wanna, depends on what your favor is. I mean, if you'd like to move both you can act if you want on the master plan, or you can move both applications
we're gonna
to
move both,
September.
we're gonna move both applications to September.
That is gonna, that requires,
Motion,
I think it requires an agreement on extension from the applicant, we can just do that to move it to September 9th.
double check. Dwight, are you okay with that?
You have to speak again. You want an extension till when?
September 9th, that's our next.
Do we need an extension till September 9th?
We don't meet in
65
August.
days?
Well, we closed the public hearing, so that, we have to act 35 days of that.
Of course, we grant an extension to September 9th, and we can grant an extension beyond that if necessary. So.
Thank you very much. So, what else? So
I think you just need a motion to forward both applicants, a motion to forward both
Applications to your September 9th regular meeting.
somebody, Jack, you wanna make that motion?
I'll make a motion to forward application ZC 26-18 and ZC 26-19 to our next meeting on September 9th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 6-0. Okay, that's it. The next. So, other business. Is there any other business we need to address this evening?
You do, you have a preliminary presentation.
All right.
From Lana.
Can that go to our next meeting, Tony? Shannon, can that go to next meeting?
Is the applicant, do we have a representative here?
He's on his way up.
Okay. Yeah, I would say we'll just try and get this.
I would suggest a very limited time on this and time.
Yeah, let's try and keep this to 10 minutes or less, please.
Good evening, Phil Doyle from LADA here in Simsbury. We want to talk informally about the Liberty Bank site on the corner of Owens Brook and Hot Meadow Street. George, do you have you must have. Basically, what's driving our question is Liberty.
Can you just hold on a second until the room clears. It's hard to hear you. Okay, if you're planning on leaving, can you please hurry so we can get to the next topic? Okay, thank you, go ahead, sorry.
We're looking for advice. Before we take the plans any further than where we are now, we have our experience with both design review and what the zoning commission has been very helpful in getting informal advice. Liberty has the property that was originally built the building was built for Simsbury Bank. And it's a lovely building. This is the survey, it's the building on the left-hand side. It is about 5,000 square feet, and it was originally constructed in 1987. And at that point in time, banking had there was a need for a bigger floor plan. And the property owner that for Liberty is Phil DeGennaro, and he's with us tonight, right there. And we have a representative of Liberty, Dan Matos, which is right here. And Liberty needs half the space. So they have approached Phil and said, we need about 2,500 square feet. How can we make this work? So we have been looking at numerous options for the property to see how it makes sense to divide that space. And is it an internal renovation, or is it do you take and build an entirely new building of 2,500 square feet plus or minus on the property for Liberty, and then bring new tenants into the 5,000 square feet building? How do you maximize the value of the property? The first sheet that George had up, and we don't need to go back to it really, is this is the first, this and the buildings next to it, the Masonic Hall, are the first sites within the Simsbury Center Zone. So the Simsbury Center Zone is much different than the rest of our zoning, where we have normal setbacks, where you're pushing buildings back from the street. The Simsbury Center Zone is a separate document that has a build-to line that wants the buildings up on the street, and has permitted all types of uses within the zone. So the focus of the zone has been, and it's very similar to the form-based code that is in place in Canton, is that what's the design? How does the design look? Are you going in the right direction with design? So as we have looked at this property, George, why don't you go to let's go through that. Yep, let's stop there just for a second. One of the critical pieces of the Simsbury Center Zone is that red line. That red line is the build to line. So buildings that we build, or any new building that we would build, has to be up to that red line in some fashion or another. And there is what's written in the regulations is something called an E zone, which is the 15-foot dimension between the dashed purple line and the build to line, the red line. So that allows you to bring a building up to the street or close to the street if you place it on that purple line, and then you can build porches, you can build stoops, things like that. So we're looking at all of these options. And we have been exploring. George, why don't you flip to the end? There were 3 or 4 plans that I sent you that you and I and Phil keep going beyond this. Keep going beyond that. Let's go to these, just to kind of walk us through. We have been looking at various options for the property. And we've gone through at least 8 options on the property. So the first thing we looked at, and we sat down and talked to staff about this, is this plan. We looked at taking a separate and building independent 2,500 square foot building attached to Liberty Bank on the northern side, which is to my right of the bank building. It's possible to do. The building that is on the right of that box that I've added that has red dimensions around it is the existing building, the existing house that's on the property. It's used as an office. It's 3,900 square foot building that we said, gee, if we kept that, the only way we could use that would be expand it and try to do housing in that. And maybe add a few townhouses to the back of the property, all allowed under the Simsbury Center Zone as a site plan. But two issues hit us. One is the existing building that's on the property, the house, it's about 3,900 square feet, is in such terrible condition that it's very hard to renovate and to create additional housing units in it. And if we build the bank addition attached to the existing building, the actual frontage, the visible frontage for Simsbury Bank diminishes, and it doesn't have the return, the visual economic return that the bank would like. So we threw that away. And then let's go to the next one, George. We then looked at perhaps doing a separate independent building for Liberty Bank that would be closer to the street, have a direct sidewalk on the street that the Simsbury Center Zone desires, perhaps removing the existing drive-through in the rear and putting a new drive-through on the back of the building, and then taking and building the back of the property as a few townhouse units. And we came away with this saying, that doesn't seem to create the value that we would like to create in the townhouse units. They probably wouldn't sell. So we disposed of that option as something that would be viable in a mixed use option. And then let's go to the next, see what else is there. We then took a look at saying, gee, is there any way that we could save a wall or two of the existing building that is what I have referred to as the house on the property, building a bank form around that, and then perhaps creating more townhouses to the rear. And we didn't think this looked attractive at all, and it was not going to be economically viable. So we disposed of that. And George, you go to the one that we have, the colored one.
Is this the one you're?
Yeah, the one right here. This is where we're tending to go.
Okay.
We're looking at trying to create perhaps a mixed-use property, doing the renovation for Liberty internal to the existing building. And so when it's renovated, we would have two office tenants in it as opposed to one. We're probably looking to try to save the existing drive-through teller that has, it has both the drive-through teller as well as the ATM, and it works well with for Liberty. And then we might add 11 townhouses that would be for sale. We think we would like to create a for sale product here. We might end up subdividing the property, which is allowed under the Simsbury Center Zone. I've drawn what is represented as a line. It's a fence that would be between the Liberty Bank building and the townhouses. And that might be the property line that would separate the two uses. And but the driveways would all be interconnected. The sidewalks would all be interconnected. And one of the things we would like to do is, because the zone is designed for appearance, this is a gateway site. And whatever we build here, we would like to be very attractive and to have the sort of the character of Simsbury carried forward in the look of those buildings. So George, could you flip to the plans, 2 plans down? Yeah, right there. What we might,
How many townhouses were there again?
11.
11, okay. And what size,
They'd be, the forward ones, right now, the schematic has about a 30 by 30, 900 square foot, like those two buildings might have a 900 square foot footprint. There would be a second floor and then as a half stories, because that's what's allowed in the zone. So these might be 2,200 square feet, something like that. The ones that step back might be a teeny bit smaller, but all sort of in that range. And think about it, the building that's there now, it was the building I call a house. It was a farmhouse. it's not on the National Historic Register. I was told tonight that there may be some pictures of it at the Historic Society, and I've got to check that out. But it's a classic New England. It looks like a center hall, colonial. And
Do you know when it was built?
the building department says 1800.
Okay.
And at the moment, and for the past number of years, it's been expanded over time. It's 3,900 square feet, 2 stories, and it's for the owners, it's been difficult to rent. There's only one space rented in it. There's no handicap accessibility to the second floor, and the ceilings are low. It's hard to use. No office use wants to go into it, so it's not economically viable. And this, when Liberty asked the question about space, that really drove us all, including Liberty, to say, well, how do we make the whole site work? What's better for the property? And that's why we're looking at this. So the image that Chris Hill, who's our architect that you've met in doing a few buildings around town, the building on the left is we've tried to create more of a farmhouse look. The building on the right is really sort of a little bit of a takeoff of the 1820 house, at least the Dutch gambrel kind of roof, and the view on the top sheet is really a scale version of what the facades would look like for those 3 buildings as they would sit on the street. And that's really one of the drivers in the Simsbury Code for the Simsbury Center. What is this going to look like from the street? What appearance does it have? And when we think about it, next to the building on the right, you've got the Masonic Hall that sort of is not quite as nice, but is sort of like the Liberty Bank building. And then you have 3 buildings that in my mind are like 1930 colonials that are part of Westminster.
Right, they're housing for faculty.
Yep.
I think.
So we think this might be a nice approach for what we think is a gateway site for Simsbury. And basically, we want to get a sense from you, are we going in the right direction? Are we crazy?
Well, I liked the idea. If we have a zone that requires at least one affordable unit, is that feasible in your plan?
Well, I think Chris is good to answer that, but I think from the quick answer would be yes. The bigger units on the end were intended to have the space so you could have, well, I'm thinking 2 things. For accessibility for handicapped persons, we need that more of that space on the ground floor. So those would be the units we would probably do. In terms of affordability, we'd have to address that.
For one of.
It'd be required.
Of the 11.
One unit would be required.
It's a zone
Yeah.
requirement, so I'm just bringing it up that.
We're all aware of that.
Okay.
And I think the owner, Phil DeGennaro, has done that before in the past.
All right. Commissioners have any thoughts on this?
I like the density, I think it's a good use of space. I'd be a little concerned with the intermingling of the business traffic and like the little residential neighborhood there, but that's nothing that can't be fixed. It's something I'd be really interested in looking at further.
When you're saying gateway, what does that mean?
Well, it's sort of a planning term that people throw around a lot, and usually it is when you're coming into some type of area. There's you usually know you've arrived someplace, and I think when the charrette happened a number of years ago to set up the Simsbury Center Zone, this area, this site, the Masonic Hall next to us, was sort of selected as the start of the town because you're coming down from the north and you're going past that whole hillside that up on top is Westminster, and on the left you've got the open space associated with the Farmington River. So it's green for a while and then bam, you're right at the bottom of the hill. You've got the traffic signal, and then these buildings appear, and these buildings really help define what the rest of what your expectations are for Simsbury Center.
So you mean a gateway to the downtown?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good.
Because, I mean, it's been called bank, 1 mile long town center street, bank to bank, is what
Yep.
somebody said years ago. But, yeah, it's the entrance point in Owensbrook is where you get Iron Horse and.
Yeah, we see this as an important site.
Thank you.
Anyone else got a comment?
Well, I drive by there all the time, but I think that older building is in poor condition and a good candidate for demolition and a much better site plan.
Jackie?
I appreciate you doing a for sale product. We've been asking for that. I agree with Tucker. I think there's a concern there with traffic, but again, we can talk about that. I would personally like to see, when we get to design, the way Liberty Bank looks now, to have that same colonial look, and then the townhouses to maybe not have the dormer up on the 3rd floor, to have those be roof lines, so they look consistent with the look of Liberty Bank, just to give you that feedback.
Well, that's good. We need to hear that feedback, and I can go either way. The interesting, one of the comments from this design review tonight was from Bill Clegg, who has been involved in architecture for a while, is that the roof structure of the Liberty Bank site is massive. And his comment was, I like what you've done with the roof lines and the dormers and for the proposed buildings. So it's a debate.
Yeah, I'm just, respectfully, I'll disagree because of how it looks right now with the colonial, the look of the existing building and the look of Liberty Bank, and the new buildings that are proposed with the 3rd story windows, they almost look like they are dwarfing Liberty Bank. They're imposing on it.
Good, that's the kind of feedback we need.
So the plan for the 3rd story, is it to be a 3rd story living space and not an attic?
Well, the 3rd story, the
It's a
zoning
partial.
regs allow a half story.
Yes,
It's
yes,
a
it's
3rd
half-
story, but
yes.
it's a half story within the framing of the roof.
Is it meant to be 2 full living floors plus some living space on the 3rd level?
I'm
Do
gonna
you
have
have a-
Chris answer
okay.
that.
Just describe the,
I'm Chris Hill, architect of Blue Moon Design. There's a side elevation that might help, and there you go, or no, I'm sorry, one more, there we go. So that's the building, that would be the building on the left as you're going back. So we tried to, architecturally, we tried to kind of utilize different features, but the first floor is primarily a garage, a pull-in garage and utility space. There's not
it's not.
really living space on the ground floor. So the real living is up on the second and 3rd floor.
So you'd walk in and walk upstairs to get to your main living area.
Correct. We're considering moving to use elevators, like residential type elevators too, as an idea.
Anyone else? Right, so I think it's generally a positive reaction, so we'll wait to see where you see you again.
Great, thank you very much for your time.
Move on to the long-awaited planning director's report.
I don't know, owing to the laid out, can I assume that, we're interested in agenda item 6?
I would prefer not.
We are not, we're going to schedule that for another date.
Excellent, thank you.
So can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned at 9:36. Thank you, George.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town.
Bringing us together through local programming,
Education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community.
Ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings.
And celebrating milestones.
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions. And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue.
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
Continues to educate our youth.
And keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
For generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media.
Where your town,
Your schools
And your government come together.